In pre-fall 1945, visitors are assembled for the wedding party of Vito Corleone's little girl Connie and Carlo Rizzi. Vito, the top of the Corleone mafia family, is referred to companions and partners as backup parent. He and Tom Hagen, the Corleone family legal counselor, are hearing solicitations for favors on the grounds that, as indicated by Italian custom, no Sicilian can reject a solicitation on his little girl's big day. One of the ones who asks the Ware for some help is Amerigo Bonacera, a fruitful undertaker and colleague of the Ware, whose little girl was fiercely beaten by two young fellows since she denied their advances. The men got negligible discipline from the directing adjudicator. The Ware is frustrated in Bonacera, who'd kept away from most contact with the Ware because of Corleone's odious transactions. The Ware's better half is guardian to Bonacera's disgraced girl, a relationship the Ware uses to extricate new dedication from the funeral director. The Ware consents to have his men rebuff the young fellows, mindful as a trade-off for future help if fundamental. In the meantime, the Ware's most youthful child Michael, an embellished U.S. Marine legend getting back from the Second Great War administration, shows up at the wedding and enlightens his better half Kay Adams' stories regarding his family, illuminating her about his dad's criminal life. He consoles her that he is not the same as his family and doesn't want to go along with them in their criminal dealings. The wedding scene fills in as basic piece until the end of the film, as Michael acquaints the principal characters with Kay. Fredo, Michael's next more established sibling, is a piece inept and very smashed when he tracks down Michael at the party. Santino, who is nicknamed Sonny, the Ware's oldest kid and next in line to become Ware upon his dad's retirement, is hitched. However, he is a hot-tempered swinger who slips into a room to engage in sexual relations with one of Connie's bridesmaids, Lucy Mancini. Tom Hagen isn't connected with the family by blood yet is viewed as one of the Ware's children since he was destitute when he got to know Sonny in the Little Italy neighborhood of Manhattan, and the Ware took him in and saw to Tom's childhood and schooling. Presently a capable lawyer, Tom is being prepared for the significant place of consigliere to the Ware, regardless of his non-Sicilian legacy. Likewise among the visitors at the festival is the well-known vocalist Johnny Fontane, Corleone's godson, who has come from Hollywood to request a Vito's assistance in handling a film job that will revive his hailing vocation. Jack Woltz, the top of the studio, denies Fontane the part, which will make him a much greater star, yet where Corleone clears up for Johnny, I will make him a proposition he can't afford to ignore. The Ware likewise gets salutary welcome from Luca Brasi, a frightening master in the criminal hidden world, and takes care of a solicitation from the cook, Nazarene, who made Connie's wedding cake, who wants for his nephew Enzo to turn into an American resident. After the wedding, Hagen is dispatched to Los Angeles to meet with Woltz, yet Woltz furiously lets him know that he won't ever projected Fontane in the job. Woltz holds resentment in light of the fact that Fontane enticed and demolished a diva who Woltz had been preparing for fame and with whom he had a sexual relationship. Woltz is convinced to give Johnny the job, nonetheless, when he gets up promptly the following morning and feels something wet in his bed. He pulls back the sheets and winds up in a pool of blood. He shouts with dismay when he finds the cut-off top of his valued $600,000 stud horse, Khartoum, in the bed with him. Upon Hagen's return, the family meets with Virgil, the Turk, Sollozzo, who is being upheld by the adversary Tattaglia family. He asks Ware Corleone for supporting as well as political and lawful insurance for bringing in and conveying heroin. In spite of the colossal benefit to be made, Vito Corleone declines, making sense of that his political impact would be risked by a move into the opiates exchange. The adjudicators and lawmakers he's aligned himself with throughout a very long while would revoke their kinships with him if he somehow happened to enter the medication exchange. The Ware's oldest child, Sonny, who had prior encouraged the family to enter the opiates exchange, breaks rank during the gathering and starts to scrutinize Sollozzo's confirmations with respect to the Corleone family's venture being insured by the Tattaglia family. His dad, furious at Sonny's disagreement in a non-relative's presence, quiets Sonny with a solitary look and secretly reproaches him later. Ware Corleone then dispatches Luca Brasi to penetrate Sollozzo's association and report back with data. During the gathering, while Brazzi is twisted around to permit Bruno Tattaglia to light his cigarette, he is cut in the hand by Sollozzo, and is accordingly garroted by a professional killer. Not long after his gathering with Sollozzo, where Corleone is gunned down in a death endeavor right external his office, and it isn't quickly known whether he has made due. Fredo Corleone had been doled out driving and security obligation for his dad when Paulie Gatto, the Ware's typical protector, had phoned and wiped out. Fredo ends up being incapable, bumbling with his weapon and unfit to shoot back. At the point when Sonny catches wind of the Ware being shot and Paulie's non-appearance, he arranges Clemenza, one of his dad's two capo regimes, to track down Paulie and carry him to the Ware's home. Sollozzo snatches Tom Hagen and holds him for a few hours, convincing him to offer Sonny the arrangement recently proposed to his dad. At the point when Tom is delivered, Sollozzo gets word that the Ware has endured the endeavor on his life. He irately advises Tom to persuade Sonny to acknowledge his deal. Irritated, Sonny will not think about it and issues a final proposal to the Tattaglias: turn over Sollozzo or face an extensive, ridiculous and exorbitant group war. They decline, and on second thought send Sonny a Sicilian message, as two new fish enveloped by Luca Brazzi's tactical armor, let the Corleones know that Luca Brazzi lays down with the fishes. Michael, whom the other mafia families consider a non-military personnel and not engaged with crowd business, visits his dad at a little confidential clinic subsequent to eating with Kay at her lodging. He is stunned to observe that nobody is protecting him. A medical caretaker lets him know that the men were impeding clinic strategy and were informed to leave by the police concerning 10 minutes before Mike's appearance. Understanding that his dad is again being set up to be killed, he calls Sonny for help, moves his dad to another room, and goes outside to watch the entry. Michael enrolls help from Enzo the dough puncher, who has come to the emergency clinic to offer his appreciation. Together, they feign away Sollozzo's men as they drive by. Squad cars before long seem bringing the bad skipper McCluskey, who violently punches Michael in the cheek and breaks his jaw when Michael hints that Sollozzo paid McCluskey to set up his dad. All of a sudden, Hagen shows up with investigators for hire, authorized to convey weapons to safeguard Ware Corleone, and he brings the harmed Michael back home. Sonny answers by having Bruno Tattaglia, the oldest child and underboss of Ware Philip Tattaglia, killed. Following the endeavor on the Ware's life at the emergency clinic, Sollozzo demands a gathering with the Corleones, which Chief McCluskey will go to as Sollozzo's protector. At the point when Michael volunteers to kill the two men during the gathering, Sonny and the other senior relatives are entertained. In any case, Michael persuades them that he is significant and that killing Sollozzo and McCluskey is to the family's advantage. It's not private. It's totally straightforward. In light of the fact that Michael is viewed as a non-military personnel, he will not be viewed as a dubious envoy for the Corleones. Despite the fact that cops are as a rule beyond reach for hits, Michael contends that since McCluskey is bad and has unlawful dealings with Sollozzo, he is fair game. Michael likewise suggests that journalists that the Corleones have on their finance would take pleasure in distributing tales about a bad police skipper. Michael meets with Clemenza, who readies a little gun for him, covering the trigger and grasp with tape to forestall any unique mark proof. He teaches Michael about the legitimate method for playing out the death and advises him to abandon the weapon. He additionally lets Michael know that the family were all exceptionally glad for Michael for turning into a conflict legend during his administration in the Marines, and that a conflict like the looming one that Sollozzo's and McCluskey's killings will ignite is essential about each 5 to 10 years to wipe out the desire and hatred that forms between the five families. Clemenza shows extraordinary certainty that Michael can play out the gig and lets him know it will all go without a hitch. The arrangement is to have the Corleones' witnesses figure out the area of the gathering and plant the gun before Michael, Sollozzo and McCluskey show up. Before he leaves for the gathering, Sonny tells Michael he'll get word to Kay about not bidding farewell. Before the gathering in a little Italian cafe in the Bronx, McCluskey searches Michael for weapons and thinks that he is spotless. Following a couple of moments where Michael and Sollozzo chat in Italian, Michael pardons himself to go to the restroom, where he recovers the established pistol. Getting back to the table, he lethally shoots Sollozzo, then, at that point, McCluskey. Michael is shipped off conceal in Sicily while the Corleone family gets ready for hard and fast fighting with the five families along with an overall clampdown on the horde by the police and government specialists. After 90 days, when the Were gets back from the medical clinic, he is troubled to discover that it was Michael who killed Sollozzo and McCluskey. In the meantime, Connie and Carlo's marriage is deteriorating. They contend regularly over Carlo's thought unfaithfulness and his possessive way of behaving toward Connie. By Italian practice, no one, not so much as a high-positioning mafia were, can mediate in a wedded couple's very own debates, regardless of whether they include unfaithfulness, cash, or homegrown maltreatment. At some point, Sonny sees an injury all over and she lets him know that Carlo hit her after she inquired as to whether he was taking part in an extramarital entanglements. Sonny finds and seriously beats Carlo in a packed road for mistreating the pregnant Connie, and takes steps to kill Carlo on the off chance that he of all time hurts Connie once more. An irate Carlo answers by plotting with Tattaglia and where Emilio Barzini, the Corleone's main opponents, to have Sonny killed afterward. Carlo has one of his courtesans telephone his home, realizing that Connie will reply. The lady requests that Connie tell Carlo not to meet her this evening. The extremely pregnant and upset Connie pitches a fit, tossing the plates with their supper around the lounge area and kitchen. Carlo exploits the quarrel to beat Connie to draw Sonny out in the open and away from the Corleone compound. At the point when Connie telephones the compound to let Sonny know that Carlo has beaten her once more, the maddened Sonny drives off to satisfy his message against Carlo. En route to Connie and Carlo's home, Sonny is trapped at a tollgate on the Long Island Highway and viciously shot to death by a few carloads of contract killers employing Thompson sub-assault rifles. Tom Hagen transfers the insight about Sonny's slaughter to the Were, who asks for help from Bonacera to deal with the preserving of Sonny's body actually. Instead of look for retribution for Sonny's killing, where Corleone meets with the tops of the five families to arrange a truce. In addition to the fact that the contention depleting is every one of their resources and compromising their endurance, yet finishing it is the main way that Michael can get back securely. Switching his past choice, Vito concurs that the Corleone family will give political security to Tattaglia's traffic in heroin, for however long it is controlled and not offered to youngsters. At the gathering, where Corleone derives that where Barzini, not Tattaglia, was eventually behind the beginning of the crowd war and Sonny's passing, regardless of giving early indications of infirmity. In Sicily, Michael quietly endures his exile, safeguarded by Were Tomasino, an old family companion. Michael carelessly meanders the open country, joined by his consistently present guardians, Carlo and Fabrizio. In a little town, Michael meets and experiences passionate feelings for Apollonia Vitelli, the delightful youthful girl of a bar proprietor. They court and wed in a conventional Sicilian design, however soon Michael's presence becomes known to Corleone foes. At some point, while Michael is training his new lady to drive, Tomasino brings the awful news about Sonny's death. He needs to film Michael to a more secure area. As the couple is going to leave, Apollonia is killed because of a manipulated vehicle detonating on start. Michael, who saw the vehicle detonate, spots Fabrizio quickly leaving the ground seconds before the blast, embroiling him in the death plot. With his well-being ensured, Michael gets back. Over a year after the fact, in 1950, he reunites with his previous sweetheart Kay following a sum of 4 years of division, 3 in Italy and 1 in America. He tells her he maintains that them should be hitched. Despite the fact that Kay is harmed that he stood by so lengthy to reach her, she acknowledges his proposition. With where Vito semi-resigned, Sonny dead, and center sibling Fredo considered unequipped for maintaining the privately owned company, Michael is presently in control. He guarantees Kay he will make the privately run company totally genuine in 5 years or less. After 2 years, Clemenza and Salvatore Tessio grumble that they are being moved around by the Barzini family and request that consent strike back, however Michael denies the solicitation. He intends to move the family activities to Nevada, and from that point onward, Clemenza and Tessio might split away to frame their own families in the New York region. Michael further commitments Connie's significant other, Carlo, that he will be his right-hand man in Nevada, ignorant about his part in Sonny's death. Tom Hagen has been eliminated as consigliere and is presently just the family's attorney, with Vito filling in as consigliere. Secretly, Hagen asks about his adjustment of status, and furthermore questions Michael about another system of troopers subtly being worked under Rocco Lampuan. Where Vito clears up for Hagen that Michael is following up on his recommendation. One more year or so later, Michael goes to Las Vegas and meets with Mo Green, a rich and savvy gambling club supervisor hoping to grow his transactions. After the Ware's endeavored death, Fredo had been shipped off Las Vegas to find out about the gambling club business from Green. Michael pompously offers to purchase out Green, however is impolitely rebuked. Green accepts the Corleones are frail and that he can get a more ideal arrangement from Barzini. As Mo and Michael heatedly arrange, Fredo sides with Mo. After Mo stomps out of the gathering, Michael cautions Fredo to at absolutely no point in the future favor one side with anybody against the family. Michael gets back. In a confidential second, Vito makes sense of his assumption that the family's foes will endeavor to kill Michael by utilizing a confided-in partner to organize a gathering as a guise for death. Vito likewise uncovers that he had never truly planned an existence of wrongdoing for Michael, trusting that his most youthful child would hold genuine power as a congressperson or lead representative. A few months after the fact, Vito implodes and bites the dust while playing with his young grandson Anthony in his tomato garden. At the internment, Tessio conveys a proposition for a gathering with Barzini, which recognizes Tessio as the double-crosser that Vito was anticipating. Kay inquires as to whether he'll consent to be backup parent to Connie and Carlo's infant child. Michael concurs and immediately jumps all over the chance to dispose of contest from the other 5 families while likewise involving the sanctification as a justification. The killings happen at the same time during the function, where Strachey is gunned down alongside his guardian in a lodging lift by a shotgun using Clemenza. Mo Green is killed while having a back rub, shot through the eye by an unidentified professional killer. Where Cuneo is caught in a rotating entryway at the St. Regis lodging and shot dead by fighter Willie Chichi. Where Tatalia is killed in bed, alongside a whore, by Rocco Lampuan and an obscure partner. Where Barzini is killed on the means of his place of business alongside his guardian and driver, shot by Al Neri, masked in his old police uniform. After the absolution, Tessio accepts he and Hagen are en route to the gathering among Michael and Barzini that he has organized. All things being equal, he is encircled by Willie Chichi and other button men as Hagen steps away. Understanding that Michael has uncovered his double-crossing, Tessio lets Hagen know that he generally regarded Michael, and that his unfaithfulness was just business. He inquires as to whether Tom can get him off for bygone era's purpose, yet Tom says he can't. Tessio is driven away and gone forever. In the meantime, Michael stands up to Carlo about Sonny's homicide and powers him to concede his job in setting up the snare, having been drawn nearer by Barzini himself. The assassins who killed Sonny were the center individuals from Barzini's own protector. Michael guarantees Carlo he won't be killed, however his discipline is rejection from all privately owned company. He hands Carlo a boarding pass to banish in Las Vegas. Nonetheless, when Carlo gets into a vehicle set out toward the air terminal, he is quickly garroted to death by Clemenza, on Michael's requests. Afterward, a crazy Connie stands up to Michael at the Corleone compound as movers divert the furniture in anticipation of the family move to Nevada. She blames him for killing Carlo in revenge for Carlo's ruthless treatment of her and for Carlo's thought contribution in Sonny's homicide, and that Michael shrewdly held on until their dad passed on so Vito couldn't stop him. After Connie is eliminated from the house, Kay questions Michael about Connie's allegation, however he won't reply, reminding her to never get some information about his business or how he makes ends meet. She demands, and Michael out and out lies, consoling his significant other that he assumed no part in Carlo's demise. Kay trusts him and is feeling better. The film closes with Clemenza and new capo regimes Rocco Lampuan and Al Neri showing up and offering their appreciation to Michael. Clemenza kisses Michael's hand and welcomes him as Don Corleone.